Ladies and gentlemen, days and dams, welcome to Transitional Spaces with Tanay. Let's have a chat, just you and me. Transitional spaces where you wanna be. Here you can be free, spill tea, and never worry about no negativity. It's gonna be okay. Strong soldiers get tough battles every single day, but we gonna be alright. Cause one thing trans gonna do is put up a fight. You gotta know your rights. Make sure you feel good every day and every single night. Let's be key, let's talk shit. Whether you're he, she, them, or that bitch. Good and bad, let's clock that T. Here you can be you and I'ma be me. Let's be key, let's talk shit. Whether you're he, she, them, or that bitch. Yes, transitional spaces. What? Transitional spaces. Yes, transitional spaces. Welcome to transitional spaces. Yes, transitional spaces. What? Transitional spaces. Yes, transitional spaces. Welcome to transitional spaces.
I'm Tanay Surratt. Welcome to Transitional Spaces. We're at Tea Lounge, which is the first trans bar that is owned and operated by a trans woman. My title here is the featured mixologist. I grew up here in New York. I grew up uptown in Harlem and in the Bronx, but mostly raised in Brooklyn. My childhood was quite difficult at times. It wasn't until my coming of age years that I began to kind of blossom in a way, if you will, where I found happiness and freedom. I knew ever since I was very young that I was very different. I guess I kind of understood it when I was maybe around 10, 11, that I was not like all the other boys. I was a very sheltered child. We were not allowed to hang out in the park, school and home. That was it. I stuttered really, really badly. And I spent a lot of time listening to music. I remember listening, to all her albums and hoping that Diana Ross would find her way into my house and explain to me, I know you're different, but everything is going to be okay. In fact, I'm here. I'm here to rescue you and take you over with me to my house in Connecticut, and you'll be one of my daughters. I had grown up with my mother and my stepfather. He was an alcoholic. My mother was also an abused spouse. We were all abused, verbally, physically abused on a regular basis. And it was a very dark time. As I spoke of earlier, I was a very quiet child, and I was always scared. I was always in fear. I was roughly about 15. My father found photos of me all dressed up at a ball. He was really angry. And he told me that he loved me, and he cried. And he told me that I was unable to live at home and that I had to leave. And that was it. He packed all my bags. Well, he packed all my clothes into garbage bags. He put them out on the corner, and he told me that he loved me. And that was it. And it was around that time, shortly after, that I understood that now this is, the time that I can live out loud. I could kind of be who I dreamt of and kind of, I guess, begin. I didn't know what that would look like, but I knew that, okay, now I'm on my own. Now I can live. And there was also a freedom, understanding that now is my time. I remember her fondly. I was becoming very close to my chosen family, Whitney, Karen, and Avis. Avis was my house mother. I was in the House of Pendavis. I had just, began to compete in ballroom. And I was only a teenager at the time. I was homeless. I didn't have anywhere to live. And so I lived in Avis's house. And Avis was in every way a mother, in every way. Well, the drag balls, which is what they used to call them, were balls. They were competitions where you competed in a host of categories. Face, realness, voguing, just a very colorful atmosphere. And these competitions were spaces for all LGBT people. There were lesbians and gays, many trans people, men and women. And we were, for all intents and purposes, one big family. Avis Pendavis is and was one of the founding mothers of the drag balls. Avis was just an incredible human being. I remember her fondly. I remember her always. It was Avis who saved my life. I was out on the street homeless, and I miss her. Avis was a very artistic person. She was an intelligent person. She was a Renaissance woman, knew everything about culture, politics, fashion. I have never met a person who I admired more, who I loved more, who I respected her. She was an angel. I called her up and I told her, I said, Avis, my father put me out. I don't have anywhere to go. Would it be okay if I stayed with you? And Avis had told me, okay, well, you know where I live. You need to get on that train and you need to come uptown. And that's what I did. And we spoke at length all evening long. And I did a lot of crying. I didn't know what I would do, how I would earn money. I was in high school still. And so Avis had explained that I either had to go to school or I had to go to work because I was not just going to live in her house and just not do anything. And so I tried to go to school as who I am. And it did not go over well. Now we're talking in the, the late 80s. We didn't have all the tolerance that we have in this day and age. It was a very different time. And as a person who had a lot of training in the performing arts, moving into ballroom, it was quite easy for me because you're on stage, but you're on a whole nother stage. And so that felt quite at home. And it was magical. Oh, I had quite a few idols at that time. Okay, there was Avis, my mother Avis. I idolized Carmen Extravaganza, Octavia St. Laurent, Jennifer Legend, Danielle, Princess Revlon. They just could not understand or believe how these trans women, how they became who they were. Sex work, sex work, sex work, sex work. It wasn't what I had envisioned in, my life. It wasn't. But that is what was available at that time. We earned a lot of money and it allowed you to live. It allowed you to pay the rent. If there were times when I hated it, and later on that evening or the next day, I'd look into the mirror and ask, what are you doing with your life today? What is this? Why do you have to do this? And then I looked at the money that I made, the night before, and I said, okay, this is why. I have to pay that rent. How else am I going to do it? How else? My mother, Danielle, had asked me to come over to her house, and I did. And so we got on the train and we came over to Times Square and we went up into the peep shows. I'm looking around like, what the hell is this? And why are there a whole bunch of naked bitches in the back over there? And so Danielle had told me, well, this is where we all work. The men who come here, they are coming here to visit trans women. And so they're going to put the money into the booth. They're going to offer you, like a tip. And, you're going to do whatever it is, the customer wants you to do inside the booth. And that's what we did. And that's how I earned my living. I remember the first, probably, legitimate job, that I had. One of the first jobs I had was working as a beauty advisor at the Lancome counter in Macy's. I was nearly 20. Yeah, like I was about 20 or 21 years old. And I was terrified. I knew that I wanted to leave, the peeps and not do any of that kind of work anymore. And so I went into Macy's, I filled out an application, I got an interview, and, they hired me. But I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified because I knew and had a fear of what happens when people find out. What will happen? Will I get fired? I didn't know. There have been a whole host of jobs and occupations. My retail days, being a makeup artist, I was a dominatrix. One of the jobs that I loved the most was as a trophy girlfriend. It's important for me to manage this place in a way where it fosters goodwill, opportunities for others who are coming up. Give a girl a skill and the girl can get a job and pay for her life. That's what this is about. I had an illustrious ballroom career. My first categories that I walked and won many trophies in was Femme Queen Performance. I was a voguing girl. And then after that, I walked for Femme Queen Body. I walked Realness, Models Effect, which now they call Runway. But back in those days, we walked in like many, many categories. I was an all-around femme queen. But why I have become famous online is the video clips of me walking for Femme Queen Face. It was a magical time, especially here in New York. Then I walked periodically in the early 2000s, but by that time I was off living another life. living in Japan for about a year, traveling in Europe. I was living my life. Recently, I have made a comeback. In 2024, I had joined the legendary house of Comme des Garçons. It was so difficult to join another house. My mother Avis lives in me always. The only way I will join is if we can hyphenate my name. So I joined into their ranks and made my comeback in Atlanta at the Tishy Ball. This year, I competed at the Latex Ball for Femme Queen Face. Now, I did not expect, to be walking face anymore. I wanted to come out and play, and it reminds me of my mother Avis. Recently, I bumped into Duchess Luong at the Femme Queen Honors. I just got all choked up. Every time I bump into her, I go, "Hi, Duchess. I'm Tanay. I'm Avis's daughter. Do you remember me?" The best moments of my life have been in Ballroom. Now I will forever be known as Tanay Penda'vis-Garcon.